Hello. I'm not going to go into too many personal details about who I am and the why-fors and wherefores, but this is a message for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and the Conservative Party, aka our supposed government. I've never been a fan of the Conservatives, and I've never liked them. I've never liked the way that they've torn into the working classes, the way they've destroyed the working classes, destroyed their services. Anyway, I'm not. This isn't about that. It's the pending attack on the disabled, the autistic population of the UK that I'm concerned about. And as a father of a child with severe autism, I feel that I need to stand up here. Firstly, a little bit about autism. Um, Firstly, everybody is on the spectrum somewhere. Even you, sir, are probably on the spectrum somewhere. Half your cabinet are on the spectrum somewhere. Most of us are probably on the spectrum for autism. And the other thing with autism as well, Mr. Rishi Sunak, and I feel compelled to educate you here, because like Joe Wicks, who dropped a cob the other day about saying how ADHD was caused by a poorly diet, I think you too are getting the wrong end of the stick here, and we need to have damage limitation. Why do I feel why do I feel qualified to make this video? Well, I'm a dad to two, possibly three autistic children. I've got one at one end of the spectrum who's a high performance learner, and I've got one on the other end who has severe autism. Let me tell you something. HPL or Asperger's, which is also put into the same kind of bucket as autism, for want of a better word. Um, you do have people like for example, Albert Einstein, Alan Turing, people who we owe a lot to who were autistic. Probably Professor Stephen Hawking was also autistic. People who had great brilliance, and their brilliance took us forward way beyond our years, to where we are today. People who, we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for these people. I don't know if even Werner von Braun was autistic. He possibly was. He certainly was a high performance learner. But these people have got great skills in mathematics, programming, chess, art. This is where they thrive. And obviously, what does Professor Hawkins and Einstein and Turing all have in common? They're all pretty good mathematicians and physicists, so that kind of fits nicely there. My son fits there. He's got mild autism, mild Asperger's, and he's as sharp as a razor. His brain absorbs like a sponge, and he's going to go far. I'm not worried about him. I think he probably will leave home. Those people, if those are the ones you're looking at on PIP to see if they could work, I kind of do get that, to be fair. There are people with autism who are claiming PIP who possibly could work. But my concern is there are people at the other end of that spectrum, like his brother. His brother has been misdiagnosed twice by the hospital, local hospital. He had two ADC or CDC assessments, and he wasn't found to be autistic. And then this played havoc with him because he needed help and he wasn't getting it until the school he was at finally caved in and paid for an ADOS assessment for that boy, which finally he got, albeit several years late. I mean, a lot could have been done to help the boy. Slowly he's recovering now, but a lot of damage was done because he was in a mainstream environment that didn't know what to do. Anyway, over the years, earlier on, he's not so bad now because he's in a unit that's tending to his basic needs more. But before that, you're talking about a boy who had regular meltdowns, self-harmed, and let's talk about that. Meltdowns, what are they? You'd call it a temper tantrum if one of your kids behaved like that. You can't get your own way. Wah, go throw things all over the room, smash the TV against the wall, throw mugs and cups. And then, you slowly calm down and you respond to sanctions. And you maybe get your pocket money stopped for a month to pay for the damages. Those kids are aware of what they're doing. And at the end of the day, discipline handles that. Meltdowns are completely different to that. With meltdowns, that usually occurs when there's a sudden change in routine. Take my son, for example. Bedtime. I give him regular warnings about bedtime, Mr. Sunak, and that will start from about roughly 8:30. I try to get him into bed, but by no later than 9:30 on a school night, so he gets regular sleep after that. And he will, if I'm lucky, he'll slam everything down, his laptop. He might throw his iPad across the room. That's happened a couple of times. Um, and then he'll storm off and brush his teeth, and then he'll go to bed. That's on a good night. On a bad night, oh my Lord, iPad thrown across the room, his headphones chucked in the other direction, still plugged into the laptop. Laptop will be slammed shut, chair will be thrown across the room, and then he'll come and give me a hiding. Yeah, he'll come bash me. Yeah. And he used the limited vocabulary the poor boy's got to tell me he doesn't like me, tell me he hates me. He's sorry for it later, but I mean, that's the kind of thing that he used to do, still does. Beforehand, he was even worse than that, Mr. Sunak. He'd go charging through into the hallway, and he'd stick his head in the wall. He'd literally headbutt the wall. And we've only recently had that damage repaired, so I've got no pictures to show you, but he literally put his head through the wall. Probably good job it was only thin plaster, but it's cost us a fortune to have that damage repaired. But he literally would headbutt the wall. And even more scary than that, he slammed his hand in the door once because he couldn't get his own way. No fear, Mr. Sunak. This is the kind of self-harm he's done. And even though the school he attends now is doing a lot of good for him, I often ask, what job can you go and do, miss? At the end of the day, mate. Well, what job will you be able to do? And I don't know, because he can't go through the day without peeing himself. He's incontinent. Pardon me. He will go to the toilet, but he seems to think, well, he'll go if he can be bothered. Otherwise, he does it, and he soaks himself through, Mr. Sunak. And it gets through a lot in stand-up pants and everything. That costs us a fortune. I mean, we only get DLA to help us, which you're very keen to cut. But, that's it. With universal credit, we've got to pay for the extra clothes because he saturates them through, and then also for these incontinence pads. And at 11 years old, I don't know that he's going to be, any better than that. Also, when he goes to take a bath, you really wouldn't want to be in there after he's had a bath because, for want of a better word, Mr. Sunak, he poos everywhere. He goes to the toilet first to get him to try to do his business in the toilet first, but it's never enough. He drains himself out in the bath. And that's at 11 years old, when most kids have learned how to use the toilet for that. And that's what we have got in him. So your drive to cut DLA on people with autism, and you're thinking that people with autism could work. With my oldest son, I get it. You're probably right. But with my son, William, with severe autism, I doubt that. And here's the way it is, Mr. Sunak. I'm a 50-year-old father who's an educator. I used to train. I used to teach. I used to pay my taxes the same as everyone else. But then it became obvious that my wife and I, my wife was struggling to cope with them. So, after we got a diagnosis of severe autism, I then bowed and became a full-time carer to my son. I've had to give up my career, because of that. And you're talking about a young man who doesn't really know what day of the week it is. He still drinks out of beakers, which are meant more for 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. Yeah, he won't take it out of the glass or a cup. And he still has to be dressed. Won't dress himself. As for his food, it's got to be chicken dinosaurs. Or turkey dinosaurs, noodles, fish fingers, hot dogs, and that is it. He won't eat anything else. So that gives us the problem of getting vitamins into him. And this is a very real mental health problem, because if his mother and I aren't here to care for him, I'm not sure what his future would be. He could end up in a mental home, and he could end up in assisted living. And we'll, of course, be here for him. But I don't know, in heart of hearts, Mr. Sunak, whether he will ever go to work. I don't know if he can work. Okay, you could lessen it so that I have to go to work, and fine, I'd love to go back to work. But it then means that, my wife and I that are trying to care for our disabled children, more pressures now on her to cope where I can no longer cope because I've had to go to work. And I think what annoys me most of all, Mr. Sunak, is how you're attacking the working, weak, and vulnerable people. You're attacking that carer, for £22,000. That's ridiculous, Mr. Sunak. She went to work at Tesco's. They ran her payroll every month. DWP should have known if she's been overpaid by £3 or 50p a week and deduct her carers there accordingly. Why did DWP or HMRC not better notify her transactions or what Tesco's was running, and as is supposed to happen with universal credit, reassess the person and adjust their payments accordingly there and cut their carers accordingly. This was your failing, not hers. She believed she was working under a threshold. She made a mistake. But what annoys me most of all, Pete, Mr. Sunak, and I'll say this, and this is a reason why I don't think you're a party for the working class. You're not. You're not a party for the businessman. You're not a party for the entrepreneur. You attack the business people of this world. You attack the working people of this world. You attack the vulnerable, the disabled of this world. You attack the carers of this world. You're attacking our children, making it harder for them to get an education and to get a decent job. You try to channel them into Victorian style apprenticeships and just giving it fancy names like T-levels and other stuff like that, Mr. Sunak. While in the meantime, over procurement is killing our NHS, while, shareholders are profiteering from water companies and they've been allowed to dump sewage into our rivers and everywhere else. I'm afraid from where I'm sitting, and I don't mean it nastily, but you've failed on a wholesale level. From you all the way through to Margaret Thatcher, you have failed. And the only thing you got left in your arse, because you're too cowardly. Yeah, you're too much of a coward to go up against the big boys who really owe you money. Like Michel Moni, who conned what? You out of 120 million for Duff PPE, and is off out there sunning it on yachts off of taxpayers' money. Yeah? Why aren't you going after her for the money? People like that who could easily more than pay back, whatever the deficit is. And that's why you're hemorrhaging money. Like in the rail. The share, I mean, what the actual hell? The service is on its knees. Clearly needs more trains. And shareholders continue to profit. Energy prices going up and up and up. And you keep giving them our money to try and keep the prices down. And yet, profits keep getting paid. And we've got a choice to either eat or heat our houses. In the meantime, shareholders still profit. And the NHS has been ripped off at a raw level. Procurement is costing this country massively. And that's before I get onto the army and the armed forces. And yet all you've got left is to attack the working, weak and vulnerable like the Conservatives always do. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon for every act of Parliament. And I think your Rwanda plan, by the way, is pathetic. And I think the way you conducted yourself the other night, keeping Parliament up till gone midnight, ping-pong a bill from Commons back to Lords. What a laughing stock we must have appeared to the rest of the world. I suppose the only great thing about Parliament compared to America or any other country's Parliament is at least you don't have punch-ups. I suppose that's one difference between us at the moment. Probably giving you an idea now. But anyway, I'm locking off because I've said all I've wanted to say. I think it's wrong that the way you're attacking those with autism and mental disabilities. And I think, quite frankly, I can't wait for you to be voted out, soon enough. I think you're nasty. I don't think you're very nice people. And, I'm not backwards in coming forwards in saying that. And I think your record shows it. Let's have a general election, Mr. Sunak. Please, just leave. Don't put any more crap through Parliament. Don't create any more mess for Labour to repair. You have failed. Your own party doesn't want you anymore. And the people don't want you anymore. Stop putting your crap through Parliament. And let's have a general election now, please. And leave. Get out. You're a squatter. Okay? You're relying on the majority you no longer have. Let's have a German election now, Mr. Sunak, and let's just see how much the British people want you. Because I, for one, don't. Have a nice day.